Welcome back to The Mind, a podcast series by the Ramakrishna Vedanta Centre, New Zealand, a conversation at the meeting point of modern science and the contemplative traditions of yoga and Vedanta. I'm Rama, your host. Last time, the group saw that the past acts as a live filter on everything we perceive. Today they turn to something even closer to the surface, the static itself, the restless hum of thought, mood, worry, an old reaction that makes even a clear message hard to hear. Swamiji will offer a reframe that takes a great weight off. The noise in your mind is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a system running with the volume of its static turned up. And a noise floor, however high, can be lowered, which is the quiet engineering behind every contemplative practice. Signal and noise. Why the mind distorts. Let's join them. The same room, rain at the window. Sarah has a takeaway cup. Kai looks like he hasn't slept.
Last time I asked you to begin noticing your own filter, the shape of your reactions, with no blame. What came up?
The classroom one landed. I gave a boy who never accepts praise one precise, true compliment about his reasoning. He looked suspicious, then quietly pleased. A small new channel, like you said.
I tried the reframe with a patient flooded by an old reaction. Naming it as a pattern reassembling rather than present danger and slowing the breath together genuinely settled her. I felt I was working with the mechanism instead of against it.
I named the shape of mine, and honestly, what I noticed most was just how much noise there is in my head all day. Once I started watching, it was non-stop. Thoughts, worries, replays. It was a bit alarming.
Same. I went looking for the filter and mostly found static, constant. I'm running on no sleep and my head is just loud.
Then you have both walked straight into today's subject, and it is one of the most freeing in the whole course. That loudness has a name. And far more importantly, it is not a verdict on either of you.
Go on then, what is it? Because your head is loud isn't exactly news to me.
Let's start with a radio, Kai. You tune to a station and underneath the music there's a hiss, a crackle. Where's the music?
Still there, just buried under the static.
Exactly. The station hasn't stopped broadcasting. The signal is fine. What's in the way is noise, unwanted stuff that hides the thing you actually want to hear. A photo taken in dim light is the same, the picture's there, but grain covers it. And your mind is the same. The signal, what's actually in front of you, a quiet intuition, even the simple sense of being present, is always broadcasting. But over the top runs the static, random thoughts, leftover moods, old reactions firing on their own. You're not failing to receive, the signal is masked.
So when I can't think straight in a hard moment, it's not that I've lost the ability, it's that the static's too loud.
That's the whole of it, Sarah. Engineers even measure it. They compare how strong the signal is against how strong the noise is. Lots of signal, little noise, and everything's crisp and clear. Strong noise drowning a weak signal, and you mostly hear static, even though the music is playing the whole time. A mind after a week of silence and rest is the clear radio. A mind after no sleep in a city full of pings, Kai, is the staticky one. Same signal, different amount of noise.
Okay, that actually helps. It's not that I'm broken, it's that I'm a radio in a really noisy room right now.
A radio in a noisy room. Hold that, because it's exactly right, and it's kind. And there's one more piece that explains so much suffering. Every system has a noise floor, a level of background hiss below which a quiet signal simply can't be heard at all. Stand on a roaring street corner and someone whispers across the square. You won't hear them. Not because you're deaf, not because they're silent, but because their voice is under the floor of the traffic. The mind has a floor too. When it's high, the quietest and most precious signals, a sense of stillness, of being quietly okay, of a calm watcher underneath it all, fall below it and just don't register.
This reframes a great deal of what I see. A patient in depression will tell me they cannot feel any of the small good things, a kind word, a sunny morning. And I believe them, it isn't an attitude problem. You're saying those signals are real, but below their noise floor.
That is a compassionate and, I think, accurate way to hold it, Doctor. The good is not absent, and the person is not refusing it. The floor is simply too high for it to come through, which immediately changes the task. You don't argue them into feeling the good. You help lower the floor, and the good surfaces on its own.
And it lets me say something true and kind. You are not broken. The room is just very noisy right now, and we can quiet the room. That is a different consultation from what is wrong with you.
Entirely different, and notice that neither radio is a better radio. The calm mind isn't morally superior to the noisy one. It's just running in a quieter room. That single idea dissolves a great deal of shame.
Is it all the same noise, though? Because what's in my head doesn't feel like one thing. There's the busy chatter, and then there's a kind of low background dread that's different.
A sharp ear, Sarah, and you've just sorted 2 of the 4 kinds yourself. There's the random chatter, scattered, pointless thoughts with no pattern. Where are my keys? That was awkward. Is it going to rain? That's the hiss. Then there's the low background hum you named, a persistent mood, a vague unease or sadness that never quite leaves. That's a deeper, steadier noise. Then there's the one loud, repeating tone, the obsessive thought, the argument you replay for the 100th time, the worry that keeps coming back however often you push it away. And finally, the sudden spikes, the intrusive memory out of nowhere, the jolt when you think you've lost your phone. Chatter, background mood, the stuck loop, the sudden spike.
I've got all 4, right now, simultaneously.
Most lively minds do, Kai. And here is the important word. That does not make your mind abnormal. A mind whose job is to scan, compare, react fast, and remember will throw off noise as a byproduct, the way an engine throws off heat. The trouble isn't that the noise exists, it's that untrained, it runs continuously, and the floor stays high.
May I add something? Because what you're describing I meet every day under clinical names.
Please, doctor, this is exactly where your voice matters most.
There's a striking thing. Patanjali, 2000 years ago, listed the obstacles that scatter the mind and then listed what comes with them. Pain, low spirits and despair, a restless fidgeting body, and disordered, ragged breathing. That is, almost line for line, the clinical picture of anxiety and depression I was trained to recognize. He wasn't calling them sins or weaknesses, he called them obstacles, the natural scatter of a noisy mind. I find that genuinely moving. It says to a patient, this is an old, well-understood human condition, not a personal disgrace.
It is moving, doctor, and it's precise. He diagnosed the static, described its symptoms in the body and the mood, and, as we'll see, prescribed the remedy. All long before anyone could measure a signal. The contemplative tradition was doing careful observational science of the inner world, and its first finding agrees with your kindest instinct in the consulting room. These are conditions to be understood and eased, not faults to be ashamed of.
That reframe alone would change how some of my students talk about themselves. My mind is noisy and it can be quieted is a world away from something is wrong with me.
A world away, James, and far truer.
You said random noise sits on top of something. On top of what?
On top of 3 steady tilts that the whole instrument tends to carry, James, the random chatter comes and goes, but underneath it run 3 quiet, constant biases that colour everything, and the contemplative tradition mapped them long ago. The first is a background sense of not enough. Not a thought exactly, more an operating assumption. You achieve something and it whispers, but it should have been better. You're praised and it says, they don't really know me. It tilts every reading of your life a little toward lack.
That one I know in my bones. Whatever I do as a parent, there's a hum of not quite enough.
Many caring people carry that hum, Sarah. The second tilt is a sense of separation, that you are fundamentally cut off, in here, while everything else is out there, and what you need must come from somewhere else. And the third is the pull to repeat, the old pattern that keeps reactivating, the loop you fall into, the sense of I can't help myself, which is the ringing we met last lesson, now seen as a steady bias. A self that feels lacking, in a world it feels separate from, while running yesterday's loops. Those 3, under the chatter, are most of the weather of an ordinary mind.
That's a bleak trio. Not enough, all alone, and stuck on repeat. Cheery.
It would be bleak, Kai, except for one quietly astonishing thing the contemplative tradition noticed. And I want you to feel the turn in it. Why does not enough hurt? A thing that was simply small and knew nothing else wouldn't ache about it. You only feel not enough because something in you dimly knows a fullness to fall short of. You only feel painfully separate because something in you dimly remembers being connected. You only feel trapped in the loop because something in you knows it is, underneath, free. The ache is not proof of your smallness. It's the faint signal of the largeness underneath, pressing up through the noise.
So the very thing that feels like evidence I'm broken is actually evidence there's something underneath that isn't.
That is exactly the reversal, Kai, and it's one of the most beautiful in this whole contemplative tradition. The pain of the tilt is the rumour of what the tilt is covering. And note what these 3 are not. They are not moral failings. They're like a camera with a slight blue tint on every photo. The bias is in the instrument, not in the scenes, and not in the one holding the camera. Which means, like any miscalibration, they can be gently corrected.
That reframe is clinically powerful. So much of what I treat is soaked in shame, the belief that the suffering itself proves some defect. To be able to say, this is a tilt in the instrument, not a truth about you, and instruments can be recalibrated, is both honest and freeing.
Honest and freeing together, Doctor, which is the only kind of reframe worth offering.
Fine, I'm sold that it's not my fault. But I still want the noise to be less. How? And don't say, just stop thinking, because I've tried, and it's like trying not to hear traffic.
I would never say that, Kai, because you're right, it doesn't work. Fighting the noise is like trying to drown out radio static by turning the volume up. You just get louder static. The whole move is different. You don't fight the noise, you lower the floor it sits on. And that's surprisingly practical. Reduce what's pouring in. Fewer pings, less screen, simpler surroundings. Settle the body, because a calmer nervous system is a quieter room. Live in a way that doesn't generate extra static, the guilt and conflict that add their own hiss. And give the mind one steady, wholesome thing to rest on instead of the scatter.
What kind of one steady thing?
Something simple and repeatable, Sarah. The rhythm of the breath. A sacred word said gently over and over. A held image of something you love and trust. Resting attention on one steady thing does two jobs at once. It stops the mind beating against a dozen scattered objects, so the chatter drops. And, the contemplative tradition is careful about this, if the one thing you choose is finer and higher than the noise, it doesn't just quiet the mind, it lifts it, the way a steady high note can draw a wavering voice up to meet it. You're not just turning the static down, you're tuning to a better station.
So the practices aren't there to force calm, they're there to lower the floor so calm can be heard.
Beautifully put, James. And that's the key to the whole thing. Nothing is being manufactured. As the floor drops, the first thing people notice is small gaps, little spaces between thoughts where, for a moment, no static runs. Then, lower still, something quieter becomes audible. The simple awareness that's been here the whole time, watching all of it. The calm space in which even the noise appears. That was never created by the practice. It was always broadcasting. The room just got quiet enough to hear it.
And this lines up exactly with what actually helps my patients, which I can now explain rather than just prescribe. Sleep, less stimulation, a regular rhythm to the day, slow breathing. None of it produces well-being out of nothing. It lowers the noise floor so the well-being that's there can register.
And said that way, Doctor, it carries no shame and real hope. Not become someone else, but let's quiet the room and let what's already in you come through. That is a true thing to be able to tell someone who is suffering. This week, the practice is not to fight the noise, but to lower the floor, gently, and notice what surfaces. Sarah, when your head is loudest, first just name which kind of noise it is: chatter, background mood, a stuck loop, or a spike. Then, instead of wrestling it, do one small thing that quiets the room. Put the phone in another room. Step outside. Slow your breath for 1 minute. Notice that you didn't defeat the noise, you lowered the floor.
Name it, then quiet the room rather than fight the thought. I like that it's not a battle.
James, look at your classroom as a noise floor. This week, try one quieting change. A calm, unhurried first 2 minutes, fewer competing inputs at once. And watch whether attention that seemed absent was simply under the floor.
Lower the room's floor and see what attention was hiding beneath it. Good experiment.
Kai, one small, wholesome repetition, daily, just a few minutes, the breath, or one steady phrase. Your job is not to make the noise stop, that would only frustrate you. Your job is just to notice, over the days, whether the little gaps between thoughts get even slightly easier to find.
Don't aim at silence, just watch for the gaps. That I can actually attempt without setting myself up to fail.
Exactly the right spirit. And Dr. Watson, with one patient carrying shame about their state, offer the reframe gently. A high noise floor, not a floor. And pair it with one concrete floor-lowering step you'd recommend anyway. Sleep. Less input. Slow breathing. For yourself, between patients, take 10 seconds to notice your own floor before you open the next door.
Reframe plus one floor-lowering step for the patient and read my own floor between rooms. I'll report back.
Then we've done the heart of it. The noise isn't you, and it isn't fought, it's quieted. Next time, the one thing in all of this you can actually take hold of and train. Attention. The dial that decides how much signal gets through in the first place.
So today, a great weight lifted. The static in your mind is not a sign that something is wrong with you. The signal you long for, calm, clarity, a quiet steadiness, is always broadcasting. It's just masked by noise, and when the noise floor is high, the most precious signals fall below it, the way traffic hides a whisper. Underneath the random chatter run 3 old tilts: a sense of not enough, of separation, of being stuck on repeat. And the quiet miracle is that each ache is the faint rumour of what it hides: fullness, unity, freedom. None of it is a moral failing, and you don't fight it by turning up the volume. You lower the floor. Simpler input, a settled body, and one steady, wholesome thing to rest the mind on, until the gaps open and what was always here can be heard. To go deeper, the full lesson 3.4 is available in the course Beginners, Conversations on the Mind in the Light of Modern and Spiritual Sciences on the Ramakrishna Vedanta Center's website, www.vedanta.nz. It is also available as an app on Google Play and the Apple App Store by searching for Vedanta NZ. Next time, attention, the one part of all this you can train. Until then, be gentle with your mind.